I know you have to exert a lot of energy in your performances. How do you keep physically fit?
Well, just eat right and sleep right. You know, sounds corny, but if I don't get enough sleep, I don't feel good. And my voice is no good. And if I don't eat right, then I just get run down, you know, and don't have any energy. So, or you get sick, and that's really a drag. So, just being on the road, you can do a lot. You can get away with a lot of things. I don't do any chemical drugs or anything on the road, and I don't drink on the road. Very rarely. If I have a day off, I might get a little drunk some night or something like that. You know, I'm not trying to paint a spotless picture or anything like that. But as a general rule, it's too much of a drain. I would like to eat on the road like I eat at home.
Is it true you don't eat meat on the road?
No, there's never any meat involved. It's just, at least not for me. It's not necessarily a banned attitude, although we have what we call the Utopia Food Co-op, which is an attempt to get some decent food for everybody while on the road, instead of like luncheonette food and crud food, you know. And it's just as an economic measure, it very rarely involves meat because it's too expensive, you know, on the road. But it's not, you know, it's no religious conviction or banned prerequisite or anything like that. It's just as one feels inspired.
You do a lot of reading, don't you?
Good old books. I've been traveling with a library lately. I have one suitcase with clothes in it and one suitcase with books in it. I didn't used to, up until about a year ago, a little more than a year ago, I didn't used to read at all, and then something happened. I had to transition or something like that. Something happened to me, and I just started reading like crazy, and I've accumulated dozens and dozens of books about specialized subjects that seem to interest me at this point, and I carry a half a dozen or a dozen around when I'm on the road and draw from them. We have a hot little number called The 7 Human Temperaments, which has caused a lot of excitement in the general utopian camp, that we're just buying out all the East Coast stocks of it.
How close do you get to the real world of record sales and monetary figures?
I keep only minimal contact with the real world as used in this context. In terms of sales, even when I know what the figures are, they don't mean anything to me. You know, they just seem to, you know, like if I had enough time to spend the business and know how much so-and-so sold in records, you know, and know that he's like big, you know, I can compare him in real life terms, you know. If he's a household word or something like that, you know, then I know what my relation to him is or something like that, or I don't know how many records equals how many dollars. I don't know any of that stuff, you know, because I don't pay attention to that large an aspect of it. So I don't know. I know when it's selling good because everybody at the record company's happy. I know when it's selling bad because everybody at the record company's not so happy. So that's about as close as I get to it.
I know you'd like all the singles that you release to be hit records, but can you understand the failure of some of the records that you've released?
I understand it, but it's like I never make them to be hit records or commercial whiz bang, you know. I just make them, and I have an explicit deal with the president of the record company that I make them and he sells them, and that never the twain shall meet, at least for the time being, you know. That I will not tell him how to sell records or which records to sell even, and he will not tell me what records to make or how to make them. And that's, to me, makes me happy. Now, most record companies are not like that, you know. That's the only reason why I stay on this record company. I suppose if I couldn't get that attitude out of a record company, I would not make records at all, you know.
Is BEARSVILLE your record company?
It's not as though I own it, you know. I am involved in it in more than just an artist level, and it has yet to be clearly defined in my mind exactly how I'm involved in it, you know. But I know that I have influence on in certain things on certain levels.
How do you compare your current group, Utopia, with the earlier Nas?
How can you compare them? I don't know if you can compare them. They're not the only difference. The only comparison. The differences are many and obvious, but the comparison is that it's not a backup band for me, particularly. It's a band concept, which the NAS was. And most of the bands that I had in the interim were just solo performance vehicle concepts rather than band concepts.
Is this really the closest working situation that you've had with a group of musicians up till now?
To date, probably yes. Which is not to say that my working relationship with musicians in general hasn't been improving. It's just I'm broadening my musical language to the point that I can communicate more readily with other musicians.
How are the members of the group Utopia brought together?
Through common projects previous to our going on the road. They played on my solo albums, either separately or in combinations, and this was my prime reason for using those particular people. Was their familiarity, their initial familiarity with the material and what I was after.
How about your next solo record? What can we expect from this?
I haven't gotten too far on it, and that's just because I haven't got time yet. And I really think it's futile for me to talk about it until it's finished. I can probably give one general indication, is that it will have a much more acoustic sound to it, probably, as opposed to just because I bought my first acoustic guitar and I'm just experimenting with that for a while, and it doesn't indicate a new trend for me. It just indicates a new field of exploration.
You've been working a lot on producing other people's albums. How much time do you plan to spend on doing that in the future?
Much less, probably. I'm hoping to be able to support myself through some other means for a while, so that it's bordering on the scandalous at this point. So I would just like to be able to make my own records and not have to saturate myself with music that I would not be doing unless I was getting paid for it.
The things you've done in the past, would you consider your past a major obstacle in your attempts to convey the future as you're doing right now?
I personally consider it no obstacle. I think to people that desire to know where I'm at, it's an obstacle. Because they use it as a substitute for more up-to-date, accurate information when they can't get it. So I personally don't dwell on my past. I dwell on my future.